Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Denny from Denny's Journey, and if you don't know, I'm Denny, and I am also known as the Lawyering Dietitian. Welcome back, this is episode 3, which is very exciting. I realized I need to start doing this, manifest it, to start speaking things into existence. So by the end of this year, my goal is to be monetized. Right now, as of today, August 19th, I have 540 subscribers. Now, I do think that YouTube changed some things around. I don't really understand it, but I do know I need at least 1,000. So my goal is to get to 1,000 by the end of the year, and then I think I have to do like more shorts and stuff, which actually shouldn't be that hard. So that's my goal. So please like, share, subscribe, watch all of the things. So this week so as you can see, I'm dressed down. I am literally heading to the gym. So right now it's gonna be short and sweet. I just have not had time to just sit down. I want to do it during the day, have the lighting be good, that natural light, that's what I was trying to do. So it's gonna be short and sweet today. Last week it was a little longer. I'm going to, it depends on the topic. It depends how passionate I am. Last week I was very passionate. This week I'm still passionate, but it's a little different. So my legal segment is called Legal Bites. I don't know what I'm gonna call this segment because, as you know, I'm a lawyer and a registered dietitian nutritionist. So, and I do both. I get paid by both. Praise Jesus. So I am both. And I wanted to bring up two things that I noticed that I see either online or with my clients. So the first thing, so we'll get into it. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is, how I work, how Denny works is, and I'll also leave the link to sign up with me under Nourish. If you work with me, you need lab results that are recent, as in within the past year. I cannot work with you. I cannot efficiently help you if I don't know where you are medically. So I can give you, advice, but if you're pre-diabetic or if you're diabetic, if you have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and we're not addressing these things, and you're like, oh, I just want to lose weight. If I don't know your thyroid numbers, I just need to know more about you medically. So all of my clients, if they don't have recent labs by the time we meet for our first session, that's one of their tasks, okay? I'm not playing over here. So with that being said, I had a client who, same thing, she didn't have her most recent labs. She got some labs done. Found out, number one, she was pre-diabetic. So I was like, okay, we talked about that, how we were going to address that. But then she also found out that she was low in vitamin D and B12. So I was like, okay, because I always want to know what the doctors say first. And doctors are not registered dietitians. And I can always tell that because of what they tell me the doctors recommend to them. So with the vitamin D level and the B12, so I've heard of people being deficient in B12. B12 is a vitamin that is usually found in animals. So if you're vegan or vegetarian, you're going to be most likely either have low levels or deficient. So I have heard of people taking supplements or getting vitamin B12 shots. I've heard of that. However, she also said that the place also recommended getting vitamin D shots as well because she was deficient in both, or she was low in both. And so I was like, And when, as I probed more, I learned that because I was like, oh, what did your doctor say? And so she said, she went to some place where she got the lab work done and they're going to send it over to her doctor. I was like, okay. And it was just weird to me because they said, oh, you should start doing these shots. You should start taking these supplements. And I was like, I've never heard, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know everything. If I don't know, I will try to find out. So, we're just having conversation. I'm just asking questions. And she was like, when I heard that it was just like a center and I'm going to say a center, where they do lab work, and it wasn't like coming doctor recommended. I asked, something made me ask, I was like, do they provide these shots? She was like, yeah. I was like, there we go. I said, do they provide these shots? So they provide the shots and the supplements that they recommended for her. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, but I told her, because I have a list of like foods that people are deficient in. I usually have a list of foods that I could say, hey, increase your intake in this. We'll check back in a couple months. Let's see what happens. So, I was sending her those things, and that's when she was telling me about the supplements. And I said, well, let me tell you something. Supplements are meant to supplement, literally in the word, what you're eating in your regular diet. So if you know that you're low on vitamin D, here's a list of high vitamin D foods. If you try this for a few weeks and there's no adjustment in your level, a few weeks, a few months, fine, try the supplement. I'm not even telling you not to take the supplements. I'm saying to increase your food intake of these foods that are higher in something that you're deficient in. And then with vitamin D, you also get it from the sun. Take a 10-minute walk every day. Make sure you're getting direct sunlight with your sunscreen. I'm not a dermatologist. They say black folk need sunscreen, so I'm gonna go with it because I'm trying to age gracefully, okay? So, and I told her this story about this older gentleman who I know who had a low appetite, which tends to happen in older people. And so he's thinking, well, I don't want to eat, but I know I have to get nutrition in. So he's like, oh, I'll just take all these supplements. And he got worse. And I relayed that information to her because I'm like, people rely too much on supplementation when you need to be getting your nutrients from foods. Like, that needs to be your first source, not supplementation, not shots, etc. Now, like I said, for people who are vegan and vegetarian, they don't eat meat, then that may be something that they need to do. Or this is a little sciencey, but a lot of people who are deficient in B12, they have an issue producing or with this, it's called a glycoprotein called intrinsic factor, which helps the body absorb B12. So if you have an issue with intrinsic factor, you're usually deficient in B12. So that's another reason why I'm like, now that we know that your levels are low in B12, then you should go back to your doctor and say, hey, can we run some more tests just to make sure nothing else is going on with that in my diet? So I just say all that to say, just be careful. People really need to be careful with who they're taking information from, because again, as soon as she was telling me this, I was like, something don't sound right. So as soon as I learned they were selling her supplements, they were selling her shots, I was like, okay, of course they're gonna sell you a product when I'm telling you, get it from your food, okay? So that's lesson number 1 for the day. Lesson number 2. Lesson number 2 is kind of the same thing as lesson number 1. Please be careful who you get your information from. I'm so tired of hearing people talk about carbohydrates. I'm so tired because as soon as people say that, and again, I hear this from doctors, doctors, online media personalities, gurus, all that stuff. I made a video on this and I will include the link again in the description. There is a difference between a registered dietitian and a nutritionist, okay? A registered dietitian, which, hey, hello, me, I am, okay? I'm a registered dietitian or a registered dietitian nutritionist. That is a regulated term, right? I can use either one and they're interchangeable, or I could just introduce myself as a nutritionist, okay? That's the bucket that I'm in. A nutritionist cannot call themselves legally a registered dietitian. They could call themselves a nutritionist, they could call themselves a health coach, if they're certified as a health coach, which I am too, through NASM or some other organization, then yes, then they can call themselves those things. But a nutritionist is not automatically a registered dietitian, but a registered dietitian is automatically a nutritionist, hence the name Registered Dietitian Nutritionist, okay? With me, class? Okay, cool. When I hear people say, oh, I'm gonna go on a low carb diet, I'm like, what does that mean? Okay, what are you saying? Because I think what people are usually trying to say is that they're trying to cut down on their starches. Okay, that's fine, but carbohydrates are in so many things. Let me read you a list. Class said, let me educate the folks. Let me educate the people them real quick, because y'all are starting to drive me crazy. And y'all coming into my sessions, I'm spending all this time now. I'm making YouTube videos having to break this down because people over here just chatting. Okay, so and this is a resource that I give to my clients too. I'm also very resource heavy. So, this is something you can Google yourself. I encourage you to Google it. Okay, Google it. Google Alicia. Look on certain sites. I will say too, certain sites that I would recommend. I do like Healthline.com, because the articles are usually written by registered dietitians or MDs or a combination of that. So they're usually nutrition articles that are written by people who know what the F they're talking about. Okay, that's number one. I also I'd have to look at WebMD again. I think WebMD is okay, but that definitely Healthline. And then there's a publication called NIH, I believe, and it is a site that is research based. Yes, the National Institutes of Health. So if you are researching something, those articles are more statistic heavy, like they're research articles. I mean, some of them are like peer reviews, stuff like that. So for some people it may go over their head. That's why I like Healthline, because I feel like it's a lot more simple for the layperson to understand. But if you do kind of understand more, like if I'm looking up something for a client, and I'll try to find an article on NIH. Okay, it's a government website. Feel how you feel about the government, but at the end of the day, certain things are just what they are. So anyway, back to carbohydrates. So sources of carbohydrates include starches like potatoes, corn, bread, rice, pasta, cereals, and grains. If you want to cut that down, sure, no problem. However, did you know that there are carbohydrates in fruits? Did you know that? Did you know that? If you didn't know that, and you said you was going to go on a low carb diet, what happened when you ate that apple, huh? Was that part of your low carb diet, or are you only thinking starches? Okay. What else are carbohydrates in? Dairy products, huh? So we have milk, yogurt, cottage cheese, and ice cream, huh? So when you say that you're not eating the bread, but then you have that ice cream, is that the same thing? Is that part of your low carb diet too? Okay, didn't think so. Right. Then we have starchy and non-starchy vegetables, right? Both, huh? Surprising, have carbohydrates. Yes. Okay, here we go. So both of them have carbohydrates in them. However, non-starchy vegetables, so think of your greens. So think of green beans, think of spinach, think of zucchini, think of like your greener vegetables, right? They're lower in carbohydrates, but they also have carbohydrates in them. Okay. So you want to have more of your non-starchy vegetables. Then you also have your starchy vegetables that are higher in carbs and calories. They're also rich in fiber and different like vitamins and minerals. You shouldn't be cutting them out, but they should be limited on your plate, about a quarter of your plate, right? So the examples of those are beans, lentils, plantain, potatoes, all that stuff. Those things are not inherently bad, but again, when people say carbs, I really feel like they're talking about white rice, pasta, bread, right? Which is fine, but it's like, I just feel like when people say carbs, they're cutting out carbs, or no carb diet, or a low carb diet. Did you also know that carbohydrates are your body's main source of fuel, and 45 to 65% of your calories should come from carbohydrates? As I was editing, I was watching Love is Blind UK, and so if you've watched season 2 in its entirety and you saw this episode and I saw him talking about carbs, I was like, thank you. Hello. So this guy, he's like he's like in the military and like a fitness guru person, whatever. So when he said that, I was like, oh my God, I have to put this in my video. So you can see it here, or I think I'm going to play it. Let me see.
How are you with carbs? Because obviously being like fitness and all of that, can
carbs are good.
Do you like
carbs are energy.
I can make some good homemade chips.
I just don't like too much saturated and oils and sauces.
No pressure.
So when I have clients who tell me that, like, look, y'all are grown, Y'all are adults. Y'all can eat whatever the F y'all want, okay? So I said, okay, if you want to have a low carb diet, let's go to that 45% of the range, right? Because at the end of the day, I want you to be healthy, and I want you to have a diet that is sustainable. And I think that's why so many people struggle and they yo-yo, because they have this concept of certain things that they don't really understand, and then it's like I have to come in and like do the reframing work, which I don't mind, but I think it's just important to be mindful of where you're getting your information from. I tell people, I love when I'm explaining something and like I kind of fact check it in the moment, and I'm like, oh, your girl really knows what she's talking about. See right here. For example, I have a client who she wasn't sure. She was like lactose intolerant, or because I do ask about if they have any allergies or food sensitivities or intolerances. And so I was explaining to her that people who are lactose intolerant have trouble breaking down lactose, which is a sugar, a carbohydrate, in the body because their body does not produce any or enough of an enzyme, lactase, which breaks down lactose in the body. So that's why they get, the physical reaction, whether it's gas, bloating, whatever, right? So she was telling me how she had a product that was lactose free, but not dairy free. And so as we were reading it, it had so I was explaining this to her, and then we were looking at the ingredients, and it had the lactase. Maybe it wasn't dairy free. I don't remember what the product was. Actually, let me look it up. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So the product, because she sent me a picture of it, the product was lactose free, but she said she didn't really have an issue with it. It was lactose free, but not dairy free, because it still had milk in it. And then as we were reading the ingredients, it had the lactase enzyme in it, which makes sense because if your body's not producing enough, or if your body does not produce enough or does not produce any of the enzyme to break down the lactose, you're gonna have that reaction. So as I explained that to her first, then we read the ingredients. I was like, oh, period. You know what I'm saying? So yes. So let's go back. I don't even remember where I was, child. I was just explaining carbohydrates where it is. So you have in your starchy vegetables and your non-starchy vegetables. Your starchy vegetables are going to be higher in carbohydrates. And then lastly, carbohydrates are found in sweets. So you have think candies, cakes, cookies, pastries, soda, sugary beverages, etc. But also just sugar, okay? I didn't want this video to be too long, but I did just kind of want to break this down, provide you a little bit of information that when you say that you're going to go on a low carb or no carb diet, what are you eating then? Protein, that's it? Like you're not gonna have what? So yeah. Let me know if you have any other questions. Let me know if this made sense. I hope so. If you're like, ooh, that girl, she really know what she's talking about. Let me meet with her one-on-one. I don't want to ask my question, in the comments. You're gonna have the link below to book with me. Remember, I'm booked and busy. Okay, my appointments are 2 weeks out. So whatever you find, you're just gonna have to book that, and then keep checking to see if there's an appointment sooner. So that's it for this. I don't know. These are supposed to be coming out on Mondays, but I haven't been making it on Sunday. So I'm going to have to pick a day. So let's say, because I want to do my twerk and tone Tuesdays, and that hasn't been happening either. Y'all, I'm trying to keep up. Let's say they still going to come out on Mondays. They're going to come out on Mondays. And then these videos are going to come out on Mondays. So Legal Bites or whatever else I'm naming the nutrition segment, that will come out on Mondays, and then my twerk and tone will come out on Tuesdays, starting next week. This week, everything's gonna be a day late. But I hope this was helpful. I know I said it quick and dirty, and my energy, I'm just being playful with you guys. But I really want you guys to be equipped with the information so that you can just make better decisions. Some of you really are dealing with a lot, especially a lot of health issues. And I just want you to be equipped with the best information and the best tools, because I have a lot of clients that come to me and they're like, oh, I'm not losing weight, I'm eating healthy, blah, blah, blah. But when I sit down with them and we really go through everything, everyone could be making better choices, right? No one is perfect. So honestly, it really is just about how bad you want it. And how I can help you get there. So with that being said, it's time for me to go. I gotta go to the gym. I'm still on time, which is good. Praise Jesus. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Remember, my goal is to have 1,000 subscribers, or to be monetized. However I'm gonna get there, I don't even care what it is. However it is, whatever it's gonna do for me to be monetized by December 31st, 2025, I'm putting it out there in the universe. And yeah, I'll see y'all next week.